Hello, this is exercise 4C.2. We're going to look at the factor theorem again. We started this last time, but this time we're going to extend it to backward problems. And backward problems do cause us a few problems. They always do. Whenever you get a question which, does it a question that looks at a problem in a slightly different order, different way around, it does cause us problems. Anyway, so show that x minus 4 is a factor of fx. This is just really me trying to show you what we did last time, a reminder of that, make sure you're good at that. Now, in order to show that x minus 4 is a factor, there is a trick, and you basically just put the opposite of this minus 4 into the function. So I'll do f of 4. If the answer is 0, then it's a factor. If it's not 0, it's not a factor. So let's work it out. And you need to show this, just to say show, so if you just wrote equals 0 and just assumed, you'd get no marks. So anyway, we put in 4 in, so it's 4 cubed, because it says x cubed, minus 2 lots of x squared, so 2 times 4 squared, minus 7 times 4 minus 4. So let's just work out each individual bit. That's 64. Now 4 squared is 16, so it's minus 32, and I want to see this working out. Minus 28, minus 4, and if you add those together, you do get 64. You're taken away from the 64, which is 0. Therefore, x minus 4 is a factor. So notice how I'm just completing my answer properly. Use long division to factorize this. Alright, and look, we know now that x minus 4 is a factor. So the obvious thing to divide by is x minus 4. And it says use long division, so it wants me to show my working out. Well, if I was to do that, I'd times it by x squared. Notice x times x squared gives me x cubed. That was the trick, and then you back multiply. X squared times the x is x cubed. X squared times that is minus 4x squared, and I put it in a bracket to remind me to take away. That minus x disappears, minus 2x squared. Minus and minus is a plus. Plus 4x squared is 2x squared. Easy to make a mistake there. Notice I brought down the minus 7x. X times by what is 2x squared, but that's plus 2x. 2x times the x is 2x squared. Good, that's what I wanted, because then it disappears. 2x times the minus 4 is minus 8x. And I put it in a bracket to remind me to take away. Minus 7, minus and minus is plus. So it gives me 1x left over, and x minus 4. And good, notice x minus 4. I reckon that's got to be a plus 1, and that will give me x minus 4 for both. So that's worked. That, therefore, is my... I can now write f of x equals x minus 4 times by this quadratic. And sometimes this quadratic factorizes again, sometimes it doesn't. I think this time it does. If you factorize that, obviously x minus 4 stays, but you get x plus 1, x plus 1. And because of that, that can be written as x minus 4 and x plus 1 squared. Okay, that's done. Notice there are effectively only two answers though, because one of them is this repeated factor, the x plus 1 squared. So when it says part C, hence solve the equation, notice now it's exactly the same thing as I started with, but now it says equals 0 at the end. I can just change my brackets. X equals 4. Or x equals, there's only one of these really, and it's minus 1. So there's two answers. So that's how I started it. Hopefully you got the same thing. Reminder, the factor theorem. So this is what we saw last time. Then basically, if you put a number in, like a, into a function, and it gives you 0, then x minus that a is a factor. And if you put a fraction in instead, notice f of b over a. If I put b over a in, then ax minus b is a factor. So just bear that in mind when we come to these backward examples I'm going to give you now. So given that x plus 2 is a factor, okay, of this, find a. Now let's just go back, just remind ourselves, if f of some numbers is a factor, then basically I can put that number in and I get 0. So x plus 2 is a factor, so let's pretend this is f of x equals that lot. So therefore, f of minus 2, I put minus 2, notice I changed my sign, and I put that into my function, so therefore it's minus 2 cubed, minus 2 lots of minus 2 squared, plus a times minus 2 plus 6. And the critical thing is a factor, so therefore equals 0. That's a 0 on this. So because it equals 0, I've got an equation I can solve. Notice the a is what I'm trying to find, and it will sit there quite nicely. Minus 2 times minus 2 times minus 2 is minus 8. This is minus, well, minus 2 squared is like plus 4. And therefore I'm timesing by minus 2, which is minus another 8. Minus 2a, there's lots of minuses going on. Plus 6 equals 0. So this is minus 16. Plus 6, I reckon, is minus 10. Minus 2a equals 0. I reckon 2a therefore is minus 10. And I reckon a is minus 5. And just solving that equation has got me the answer. Well, it worked. You've got to get good at solving those equations. Given that x plus 1 is a factor and x minus 2 is a factor as well. So this actually is going to end up, I think, just looking at it, it screams out simultaneous equations. So I'll do the same thing as before. It says x plus 1 is a factor. So I write f of minus 1. And I put minus 1 in. So I cube it. Plus a lots of minus 1 squared. Plus b lots of minus 1 plus 8. And critically, that answer is 0. And I've got another one which I'll do as well. When I put, it says minus 2, so I put 2 in. Well, let's put 2 into the function as well. It's 2 cubed plus a times 2 squared plus b times 2 plus 8. And that's equal to 0 as well, because they are both factors. Both of them are factors. So let's solve this one initially. So on this one I get, this implies that that symbol means this implies that. I get minus 1. When I cube it. Minus 1 squared is plus 1, so this is actually a plus a. Minus b plus 8 equals 0. And I'm just going to tidy this up. A minus b, let's move all my numbers onto the other side, equals, I reckon that's 7, so it's minus 7, I'll move it over. That's my first equation. And this one, what's this imply that it equals? Well, I've got 8 from 2 cubed plus 4a plus 2b plus 8 equals 0. So what's that? I've got 4a plus 2b equals, that's 16, so therefore it's minus 16 when it moves over. And there's my second equation. So you might as well, you could solve these properly, doing it yourself. Menu, you can see I'm just typing it into my calculator, pressing that A for the equation solver. It's simultaneous equations with 2 unknowns. And I'm typing a minus b equals minus 7. So 1a, negative 1b, and negative 7 is my first equation. Of course, it comes up in x's and y's, but think of that as a's and b's. I've got 4, I've got plus 2b, so 2, and I've got equals minus 16, so negative 16. And I pressed enter, now I just press enter again. My first one is minus 5, so I think a is minus 5, and b is plus equals again 2. And hopefully that solved them correctly. You can check those if you wish. Use detailed reasoning. Now look, this phrase tells me I've got to do a bit of work. I can't just cheat and look at my function, table function on the calculator, for instance. Use detailed reasoning to find the remaining factor. So I've got these two factors, so I better times them together. X plus 1 times x minus 2. You see, what I'm looking for is the third factor, and I can't do that until I've worked out what these multiply together. And you quickly see, when you multiply those together, x squared minus x, I reckon, minus 2. Why is this important? Because I've now got to do some long division. I've got to do x squared minus x minus 2. And I'm dividing it into the original function to see what I'm left with. So what was it? It was x cubed. Now notice it says plus ax squared, but I know what a is now, it's minus 5, so I'm going to write minus 5x squared. It says plus bx, but I know that b is 2, so plus 2x, of course, plus 8. Let's do my long division. You don't often do this, but you can notice x squared is the highest power. So what do you times x squared by to get x cubed? Answer, x. X times that is x cubed, and you do the back multiplication for all of them, minus x squared minus 2x. Put it in a bracket to remind me to take away. Take away that will give me nothing. Minus 5x squared plus an x squared, I reckon that's minus 4x squared. And 2x minus and minus 2x, I reckon is plus 4x. And then bring down the 8, plus 8. So what do I times the x squared by to get I reckon minus 4. So that gives me minus 4x squared when I multiply it, plus 4x, plus 8. You know what? It's only gone and worked. So it's worked because I've got a 0 here. If it wasn't a 0, that would have told me it hadn't worked. But notice I've got x minus 4 on the top. So therefore, my f of x that I started with is definitely equal to x plus 1. I knew that. Is definitely equal to x minus 2. My third factor I've just found up here. Notice because it's just x minus 4, I don't need to factorize it again. It's nice and simple, and that's my answer. Where's my answers here? X minus 4 was my final one. And that's what they wanted. In fact, they didn't want me to write it like that. They just wanted x minus 4. And that's it. That's a relatively short introduction to this exercise 4C.2, our second bash, and we'll just finish off the questions. Okay, thank you.